Hi there, my name is Chad Reed, but online I go by Saul Sunforge, and this is my channel, Dungeons and Taverns, a place where you can come to learn, watch campaigns as well as computer games, and get a panel of DMs and players as we answer the questions that you submit to me on Twitter or in the comments section of my YouTube videos. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer on Tavern Talk for the DMs and players that we have on the panel, then please submit it in any of the comment sections for any one of my videos, and I will be sure to include your question. Now, before I start creating the monster for today, I'm letting you know that I'm using a website called 5E Tools. It's not officially licensed. I don't believe you're allowed to use it unless you have, the source material, of course. I just use this because everything's all in one page. I have all the source books. You've seen them all. I could show them to you again, but I feel like that's kind of like bragging, and I don't have a reason to, but I have all the books. So if you use this site, use caution. Now, as a dungeon master or equivalent, when you're creating a monster for your party to fight, there's a few things that you need to have at the top of your mind. First thing is your experience level as a dungeon master or equivalent. If you're brand new or within like your first few campaigns, I probably wouldn't suggest you create your own monsters, as the books have plenty of them in there for you. They are more or less balanced, but the higher up you go in challenge rating, the less balanced they become. And situations pop up and special holiday events where you may want to create monsters of your own, which is a lot of fun to do. But if you're new and you've never done it, I wouldn't suggest it, as it requires your party to have a certain level of trust in your abilities to do so. Now, my personal tendency is to create monsters that are slightly less powerful than I feel that they should be. That's just out of ample caution, because as a dungeon master, I know that if a creature isn't posing enough of a challenge, I can do things to boost it, and you can too. There's things that the players have no idea. The health pool. You could give them something that would make them have a variable AC in different phases of the fight. Say whether they pick up a shield versus two weapons. You can give additional legendary or layer actions, villainous actions. I have those. And a villainous action is simply something that the main enemy does on right before their initiative hits on the board, but after the last player before them goes, where the villain or the enemy does something. It could be a special ability, most likely, on say rounds 2, 4, 6, something like that, or 3, 6, 9. On before their initiative goes, they get one free thing that they get to do, whether it's teleport, dash, whatever it is. That's their villainous action, and it doesn't count against them for their action economy. These types of powers and abilities key your players into a few different things if they're observant. If they see that more and more things are coming at them, or the enemy has more stacked in their arsenal to deal with the party, they're going to take more notice. So things you should take into consideration: your player's skill level, how many players are in the party, what level they are, and what type of magical items or enchantments they have on them that would make the battle significantly easier. Because if they have a lot of things that would negate powers of a creature that you're creating, and you didn't know that, or you forgot that, you didn't do enough research on your player's character, well then you might have just turned a hard or a deadly fight. And this is something that's more medium or easy, something certainly more manageable. Now, if you want to throw your players a bone, you can intentionally give whoever they're fighting a vulnerability or a weakness to one of the party's strengths. Alright, so the situation is this. Normally we have 4 party members. They're split. So right now the main group has 3 out of 4. But one of those players has a companion, Raikou. So that's 4 against them. So, and 3 of them are just hit level 18. And Raikou, I believe, is like between 12 and 14 somewhere, I think. All right, so the first thing I do is I go ahead and arrange everything by challenge rating. Or if you're reading the books, obviously you know where the higher level challenge ratings are. I like to go with demons sometimes. I combine demons, devils, and dragons usually. Um, it depends on the encounter. I make several different types of encounters when I create creatures. I have set pieces and things in mind that would take a long time to explain each individual thing. But basically, what I do is I'll create a creature with lower HP, higher AC, and magic and fast. Or I'll create a creature that has a lot of HP, a little bit of a lower AC perhaps, and they deal a lot more massive melee damage. It really depends on the situation. And my favorite is when you create an encounter with multiple creatures that you've created. That takes a lot more planning, obviously, as these processes take some time, and it's taking longer to explain it to you than really if I just went and created it. I probably could have already had it created in the process of making this video so far. But I want to explain everything to you so you completely understand. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take a piece of paper. In this case, we're typing. So we're using my program that I use, Campfire Writing. Very good program, highly recommended. I'm not sponsored in any way. So I'm going to scroll through my notes so far. And really, I've only been taking notes for the last, year maybe. Keep track of the day, some of the creatures that I create are hidden in here. Some of the NPCs I created, some deity stuff. Okay, keep going. There we go. All right, we're at the bottom now. So we're gonna go ahead and write down the name of this creature first, because we're gonna create the whole thing. The fire starter. All right, the fire starter. Mariah Carey. Is that how you spell her last name? I don't even know. And we're doing Mariah Carey because we're not doing Mariah Carey. We're making Mariah Carey a monster in this kind of, for the whole holiday song, All I Want for Christmas Is You, how it just gets played and played. I love Christmas music, okay? So I hear that song probably more than anybody, because as soon as the Christmas music starts on the radio, that's where I'm at most of the time. And it feels like they're playing that song like once every 10 songs. So I just figured, why not make her into a baddie? Alright, so for her AC, we want to make it something pretty good. Just the way her skin is going to give her a natural armor. I'm not sure how high I want to put her AC. I don't want to put it anywhere in the high 20s. But I was thinking like 24 should be a good number. 24. So I think that's what we'll go with. Now for the HP, I'm going to tentatively set it at maybe the 285. 285 seems like a pretty good number. And then speed. $90 flying. She's gonna have wings, baby. Alright. And then actually I gotta put it the other way, right? So 60, 90 flying, and should I? There's no need to give her climbing speed. This encounter shouldn't have any climbing. Excuse me. I lowered her base speed by 10, so it's 50 and then 90 flying. So it makes it that much more of a difference. Or should I just do 100 flying? 50 and 100, or 40 and 80. Kind of like those rounded numbers. Yeah, 50 and 90 is fine. That's fine. And she's a portal guard, so we're going to go ahead for languages, because she's very ancient in terms of demons. So any telepathic. That's yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's not going to matter too much. I could make her speak whatever, obviously. So she might speak verbally in like common and maybe infernal or something. Um, but she speaks through and responds to people telepathically, and she knows all languages that way. I don't know if they'll come into play. Depends on if there's any role playing or not. And whenever I have dynamic encounters like this, I try to always throw in a little bit of dialogue at least, so it's not just a bunch of number crunching, and it feels a little bit softer on the time, because we all know that tabletop gaming, the role play is great and everything, but it's the fights that take forever. All right, so now we have to fill out some strength, dex, con, the key stats. So let me see here. Strength. I mean, for a demon, she's not strong for a demon, but in terms of anything else, then she can hold her own. So let's just give her an 18. Dex, con. Alright, so the dex, she's highly dexterous. We'll give her 24. Con. 16. Alright, so the intelligence. Give her a solid 20 on that. Wisdom. 18. Charisma. It's freaking Mariah Carey. I mean, 30? Let's see how this works out. I might change that 30 because some of the things I have in store for her for abilities, that might be way too strong for the party. And those are some of the considerations you need to make when you're creating a monster, because you don't want to just completely just devastate your party. In 6 rounds of combat, everybody's dead. Like, that's not, you don't want that. You want to give them a challenge, but make sure that they can overcome it in some way. And if they do, you reward them by the W. Now, when I used to create monsters, I used to go for big, grandiose, huge, strong, burly, magical powers out the ass. I used to do all of it, right? But I came to realize after some time that most party members are not going to run away from a fight. If that fight is too hard, they will continue fighting. And it's always been that way. Instead of having them run off to fight another day, they'll stay to the end. So you have to consider what your mentality of your party members are. Like, if it's too much for them to handle, but they still can secure a retreat, are they going to? Or are they going to fight to the last? I think you'll find that most party members are going to fight to the last when you expect them to run. Alright, and then when I'm writing down the stats, I just write the bonuses underneath of them. And of course, I delete those at the end. Those are just for quick references, so I don't have to math as much. You see there that charisma bonus of plus 10, and she's going to have a lot of charisma-based attacks. That may be overpowering, but we'll find out once I put down those abilities, because I haven't even thought about the abilities yet. And the great thing about it is that when you create your own creatures, feel free to create your own abilities too. You know, thematic is really big. Uh, if it's a fire-based creature, you give them lava attacks and fire attacks and things like that. But you want to make, you know, I'm sorry, I'm tired. I forgot my train of thought for a second. Oh yeah, you want to make the creature fit its biome, and you want to have its attacks complementary to what's going on around it or what type of creature it is. Like if it's a spider, you may not want to give it flame attacks, for instance, because it's just going to burn up all of its webbing and things like that. It's a really simple, silly example, but you understand what I'm saying, right? All right, so next up for our creature, the fire starter is going to be obviously immune to fire. Um, what should I make it, immune or resistant? Resistant to fire. They're immune to being knocked down, to being prone. Immune to prone. And vulnerable to cold. Don't want to give her too many vulnerabilities, but it would make sense if she was resistant to fire that she'd be vulnerable to cold. I actually thought about it for a bit while I'm sitting here typing these things out, and I feel like the 24 AC may be a touch too high. You have to think of your players to hit. You know, if they have a plus 11 to hit when everything's said and done, they have to still roll a 13 on the dice to be able to match the AC. So they would have to roll a 14 or higher to beat the AC. So that would give 30% chance to hit. And I feel like that might be a little too low. I want to kind of give them like a 40% chance to hit, maybe. Because she does have a decent amount of health, but mostly it's going to be devastating attacks that is going to do it. So we're going to lower the AC from 24 down to 22. And then once we keep going as we're making this, we'll see how it feels. And if it still feels a little too high, we might lower it to 21 or 20 even. It's just something you have to workshop, and as you gain experience creating your own creatures, you'll get this experience, and you'll gain the ability to determine if things are too hard, too easy, if you need to pull some punches. Because remember, there's things that the players don't know about your monsters, especially since they're not in the books, right? So you can pull punches if you want to, and then open up later on. It's a lot easier to start off slow and then ramp up the aggression versus the other way around. If you start off with all the aggression and slowly taper it off, your players are going to freaking feel some kind of way about that usually. Sometimes they might be okay with it, whatever. They got past the encounter. That's all they care about. The loot, the experience, whatever. Continue. But a lot of other players don't see it like that. They don't see enemies just as a loot pinata. Alright, so I just figured out the passive perception. And all you gotta do to figure out the passive... Oh, I spelled it wrong. All you have to do to figure out the passive perception is you take 10 plus your wisdom modifier, and then if you're proficient in it, you add your proficiency bonus. And that's how we got 20. 10 plus 4 is 14, plus 6 is 20. Alright, so next up we're going to go ahead and start getting into the meat and potatoes of it. We covered some of the stats and things like that. But now we have to come out and actually come up with some abilities and attacks and things like that for Mariah Carey. Alright, so before we get into the abilities and the attacks and things like that, we went ahead and did the saving throws with our bonuses. And our dex is a plus 13, our strength is a plus 11, and our charisma is a plus 16. And I'm looking at those numbers, and especially that charisma. I mean, you only need roll a 4 for a dirty 20, and really, not too many people are going to beat that charisma save. So, what I'm going to do is we're going to lower this charisma score to 26. All right, so that makes this 10 bonus an 8. So that turns a 16 into a 14. You see that? I am for the players. All right, so here we go with the legendary resistance. She has 3. I was going to give her 5 because some creatures do have 5. And they're right now at level 18. So they're in the final tier of gameplay where anybody they fight is a potential world ender. And the my goal is not to have this creature kill the party. My goal is for them to have fun with the event, gain some experience, but also have a challenging fight where they may not survive. I don't want it to be guaranteed, although I am pretty good with the dice, and I did have them going up against some level what? CR, what are they, like CR half, CR quarter zombies. And this was when they were level 17. You'll actually be able to see that session here if you watch my Dirty 20 campaign on the channel. You'll be able to see that they actually had some CR, whatever the heck they are, nothings, zombies, just completely getting all these hits on them with their high AC and everything. And one of the party members right now, Jack, actually has a disease that he's fighting off. He doesn't know about it. I've been having him roll his con saves, and I've been keeping track of how he's doing, of how if it's going to progress or it's going to stop, or things like that. But yeah, so you kind of have to watch what you're doing. So I'm not giving them 5 legendary resistances. That's 3 is already quite a few. Unless they're burning through them in one round. I mean, there was one time where I had to use, I think I used 2 back to back within before I got back to my next turn or something. But so we just kept it at 3, and I might even reduce it to 2. Yeah, I'm gonna reduce it to 2. I'll reduce it to 2 for them. See, I am very benevolent. Oh, 21. Just as I said that, I accidentally typed 21. 21 legendary resistances a day. Nothing's hurting you ever. You're just gonna... No. Nope. I choose to succeed. Nope. Alright, so 2 legendary resistances a day. But they also have magic resistance, so any spells or magical effects they get an advantage on. So those are pretty tough things right there. And I see I spelled longsword with that extra N. My keyboard is really, really sensitive, and so sometimes when I press on one of the keys, if I press just like a smidge too long, it will type like 2 or 3 of them without having to press the key again. It will just keep typing them. So I have to go back through and edit, but it doesn't matter. It's just a small thing. And so we're giving her 2 longsword attacks. We're gonna call her longsword the Long Night. The reason why we're calling it the Long Night is because it's devastating, and the goal is off you, right? So the Long Night, the night that never ends. You get it? Got it? Good. All right. I'm not sure why it changed my font. And I don't really get to use Campfire as much as I want, so I don't know any of its features. I mean, if you guys use Campfire, please give me some help in the comments section, because this seems like a great program. I just don't have the time to learn it because I have so much on my plate. But I don't know why I did that. We're going to go ahead and put it back to normal. So, so Mariah Carey is going to have 2 attacks with the Long Night per turn, or 1 attack that she's going to forego that second attack in order to cast a spell. So now we're going to have to come up with some good spells for her to have. Well, also the damage of the Long Night. Now, since she has these wings that are going to be essentially like dragon scale, sort of like think of like mithril or something like that. That's very strong, but a little bit lightweight because they're wings, right? You don't want it to be adamantine because that's heavy and trying to fly. So maybe make them like something like mithril. And as a reaction, which you get your reaction once per round, unless you have other abilities and things like that. but she's going to get one reaction per round. And as her reaction, she can close her wings. And I don't know if I'm going to make it increase the AC or I'm just going to have it reduce the damage. I think I'm just going to have it reduce the damage. Because if I increase the AC, then that's for sure that's not satisfying to the players. But if you reduce the damage, they still get a hit. It might not be as solid of a hit, but if they're still making progress, progress is progress, right? And this is gonna be a battle of attrition. A battle of when to use the reactions. When should I use those reactions? Do you think and are they only able to be used in melee, or are they able to be used to block spells? And if they're used to block spells, we already have the legendary resistances, and we already have magic resistance. So that does not seem like a great idea. That seems like a way to TPK the party. So we're not going to make the reaction. We're going to make it so that it just halves the damage, instead of making it so that it just increases the AC, because the AC is already very high, right? It's 22. So what would we give for those extra, for that protection? Because that would be like a decent amount of protection. 2 plus 2, then that would make it a 24, and that's already, there's CR 30 creatures that don't have an AC of 24. I believe that the Tarask, I think, has the max AC. It's the max AC creature, I believe, at 25, I think. Don't quote me on that, because I don't really get to use Tarasks too much, unfortunately, but that's because of how rare they are in the game. Let's go look, because I'm curious. Here we go. That's the model I was using. Grass, just so I could copy some these resistances and things like that. But I go with a whole bunch of other creatures, so none of my creatures are ever really the same, because I don't pattern them off of the same creatures always, and I use multiple creatures, so it creates multiple combinations, and you'll never get the same. All right, 25 AC 25. Okay, so I was right. 676 HP. Although these creatures, they're actually, you could deal with them very easy. They're very much tamed down than they were before. I do something different to my Tarasks, and I may make a video about that in the future if you wish. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and figure out the damage for the Long Night. And it's going to be pretty impressive, but I think I'm going to give it extra different abilities, maybe, on a crit. I do that a lot. If there's a crit, you get a special type of ability. Most of my players have weapons that on a crit will do something completely different. And I also do things for actually day and night where the weapon acts differently. Foxodon Haval actually has a halberd right now that I gave him, that if you roll a crit during the daytime, it does holy damage. And then at night, if he rolls a crit, it does necrotic damage. So I do a lot of different things like that. I highly suggest that you do that to make everything more dynamic, because you could just add those types of things onto any weapon that already exists. You're adding a little bit of homebrew into it, but you're ultimately making it a better product. I hope. There is a lot of homebrew out there that's not really great, but there's a lot of homebrew out there that is, and so you want to go ahead and experiment. That's a good way to do it. Alright, but back to my point though. So what kind of damage would the Long Night do? Alright, I've determined that it is a... what kind of sword should it be? Should it be a great sword? A bastard sword? Well, it's called the Long Night, so maybe let's just make it a long sword. How about that? Now, this part might take a little bit of time, so just bear with me. I mean, if you've been paying attention to the whole video so far, I appreciate that, and hopefully it teaches you something good. There's no way to make these videos really shorter without leaving out too much stuff for you. I've made some camp creature creation videos in the past, and I've not really elaborated too much because of time's sake, really. I can make these videos as short or as long as you like them to be, but I understand that not everybody has hours to watch stuff, so I try to keep it short, and this video is already going to be edited down to as you know to as little as possible. It's still probably going to be like a 40-minute video or so. All right, so longsword D&D 5e. And I'm showing you the process of everything. All right, so you go ahead and you look up longswords here. They do D8. Yeah, they do a D8. Okay, but watch this. How much does damage increase according to size category for weapons in D&D 5th edition? Double the weapon dice if the creature is large. Triple it if it's huge. Quadruple the weapon dice if it's gargantuan. See? I don't know if you guys ever knew these things. So I'm just letting you know the things you need to look up for references and things like that. All right. So I knew it was triple, but I wanted you to see. So then this 1d8 would become a 3d8. But 3d8 is still not that impressive, right? So we're gonna have to boost this sword up quite a bit. We're gonna give it more than just the 3d8, and it's going to have it's going to inflict a status or something like that. We don't want this sword doing incredible damage though. We're not trying to take away half their health in one hit. Certainly up to a quarter of it would be fine. But we're not trying to take half of their health in one hit. And some of the other abilities that she's going to have that you'll see here soon are going to counteract some of her damage too. Because she may be able to inadvertently heal the party. You'll see here in a minute. Alright, so we went ahead and wrote down the 3d8 plus 5, because that's our strength bonus is a 5. And 1d8 is the longsword, but our creature is huge, so you multiply the 1 by 3 and get 3. So it's 3d8 plus 5. The sword is going to have a 10-foot reach because a small or medium creature or anything already has a 5-foot reach. She has a long sword. She's huge, and I'm going to give her a lunging strike. So she'll every once in a while be able to reach even further than the 10 feet. All right, and then we got to figure out her chance to hit. So we just go up, find the strength bonus, 5, and then we add that up to the resistance, and see 3d5, we got 5, and then our proficiency is 6, so 5 and 6 is 11, so that means you have a plus 11 to hit. Alright, so that means some of the weaker AC classes, like the wizard, most likely, is going to be hit pretty much every time, except on a 1 or a 2, and maybe a 3 might not hit her either. 4 probably matches, and then 5 would beat it. So that's like a 80% chance to hit and a 75% chance for it not to be glancing if it is a hit. Like it's pretty beefy. And then to get 2 attacks with it. So I might not even need to add too much to this weapon. 3d8 plus 5 with a plus 11 to hit. So that's a potential of 29 damage. And then if it's a crit, ooh, should I make it? Should I change the crit range? Yeah, 19 to 20. 19 to 20 crits times 2. I've done ones that are like times 3 or times 4. It depends on the lethality of the weapon. Like if it's a freaking tooth cleaver, then yeah. If you're hitting with a tooth cleaver and you're doing a called shot to somebody's head and you hit, well, that's not in D&D, but that's what Resnium is about. But you'll see that in the future. But what I am going to do for this weapon is I am going to give it a demon, demonic ichor. So she coats her blade in demonic ichor, and on a crit, demonic ichor, And then on a crit, they have to roll a wisdom save. I gotta figure out the number for the wisdom save. Alright, so we figured out the save. It's the proficiency bonus plus the ability score and 10. So we have a wisdom save of 20 for the demonic ichor. And then what should we do on a failure? On fail, receive four D6 necrotic. If creature dies, it becomes a... What's the lowest level demon? Is it a Lemur? Demon Hierarchy in 5th edition. Is it a Lemur? I think. I don't need the hierarchy for devils, man. I just need demons. I know it's in one of the books. I've read it, and here we go. Oh, gosh, come on. What rank? Yeah, rank. Okay, I guess. No, that's devils. Demon in 5th edition. Lemur. Okay, thank you. Oh my gosh, so much work to get the answer I already knew, but I just wanted to make sure I knew it. Alright, so the Long Night. It does 3d8 plus 5. It's plus 11 to hit. 19 to 20 on a crit. It does double, like most crits do. Demonic Ichor, that's coating the blade. If it hits a crit, the party member has to make a wisdom saving throw of 20. And then on a fail, they receive 46 necrotic damage. And then if that creature that failed that dies from the necrotic damage, it becomes a Lemur the next turn. And only the Wish spell can undo it. Now, in order to make the DC, or the CR, of the creature appropriate to what I want, I'm not giving this creature any legendary actions or layer actions. I'm not going to give it any layer actions for sure. I may give it a legendary action or two, but those actions usually are just going to happen at the top of the round. So there really isn't a need for legendary actions. She's going to have some complemented spells, and then I think that should be it. We should probably call it after a few spells. We'll give her a few that she can cast at will, and then a few that she could cast, 2 or 3 times, however many spell slots she's going to have for the appropriate level of spell. As I'm sitting here writing these abilities, I think I do want to put this as her lair, just not really for extra power per se, just for some of the setup that I have prepared. And if you see the session, you'll see the setup. But I think it would add to the fight, not necessarily add to the difficulty of it. It's just basically roleplay purposes. I'm not, making it harder on them. But you can see some of the new things that I wrote down here, because I feel like if I don't edit and stuff like that and just play it, it's going to be 2 hours long, 3 hours long. Alright, so for range attacks, we have one called Time for Presence, where she runs underneath of a Christmas tree, supposedly, and rounds 3, 6, 9, and then after that it goes 10, 12, 14, so it goes 3 turns of every 3 rounds, and then 3 turns of every 2 rounds, and then after that it's going to be every single round. If the party does not overcome this encounter by turn 14. After the turn 14, it becomes every single round. So there's a ramp up, and so it's going to add to the tension of the fight. And these presents, they're not going to be just normal presents, obviously. Mariah Carey is going to be throwing out presents to the party. We'll say she throws out, what, 3 presents? So she hits, so 3 out of 4 of the party member, or well, there's, yeah, 3 out of 4 because of Raikou, excuse me. So she's going to throw out 3 presents to random 3 out of the 4 that are there. And some of those presents are going to be good. Potion of speed, potion of heroism, and maybe a healing potion, right? And then 3 of them are going to be bad. So it's going to be even. So I'm not trying to slant it in the favor of getting a bad present. And the bad presents, I almost said the bad presidents. The bad presents aren't going to always just be potions. They might be like something explosive, an add to the fight. Maybe a spell goes off. And so the presents are actually going to be a random factor that could change this battle to make it much easier or much harder, depending on how I roll. And I roll pretty good usually. Real dice on roll 20 with the random number generator. Sometimes it will give you like back-to-back same numbers. Like there was one time it gave me 8, 8, 8, 8, like 4 times in a row. Anyway, whatever. So, but 3 of the presents are going to be good, and 3 are going to be bad. I might change it to 4 bad and 2 good, but I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking 3 and 3 is probably the best, because her other attack is all I want for Christmas. Okay? So when she says all I want for Christmas during the fight, then she's going to turn to one of the party members with, and I haven't wrote this down yet because I'm thinking this actively as we're doing it. This is all off my head. I haven't prepared nothing. So when she says all I want for Christmas, she's going to look around to a random party member and go, "Is you?" And as she's screaming "you," she's gonna let out a large ball of fire is gonna manifest from her belly, and it's just gonna be like a scorching ray across the battlefield at that party member. So it's gonna be a dex save. All right, so here's the map that I was working on for this, and you can see that it's not all this was down here is not done. And that's because I was going to make this whole area that they're at like its own dungeon within a dungeon. But they already are on a mission, and sometimes as a dungeon master, you can't use all the ideas you have just because they might not fit. And right now, time constraints is really one of the things. They're trying to get something done in-game in time. And also, I don't have as much free time as I once had. But there's no reason for them to go down here, because it would be sidetracking stuff. And you can see none of it's done. These aren't even at scale that they were supposed to be. And you can see right down here, there's still a little bit of grass color before I colored it this clay color. But up here is where we're focusing for today's session. And actually, after I finish this video, edit it and upload it, you might get the video as the session's going on. I'm trying to get caught up for you all. It's a task. Okay, so they're going to be fighting Mariah Carey up in here. And I was looking at the scale of everything to see if it's exactly what I'd like it to be. And I feel like I don't think the scale is large enough for the fighting area necessarily. Um, she's going to come out of this area here. And actually, oh, okay, idea. And this is what the legendary action, well, I guess you'd call it a extra. Really, it would be a villainous action, I suppose. The dialogue portion. All right, so we are going to make that there, and then we're going to apply that color. All right, so it's just a hole, and I'm going to try to make it so the scale of that is going to facilitate a huge creature. Um, so I have to, when I bring this into Roll20, I'm going to have to regrid it so it makes each grid space match a certain aspect so it will work. So I don't have to try to hurry up and come back in here and re-download the map and all those types of things. All right, so she's going to come out of here, Mariah Carey, and I'm giving you complete inside information for sure, and you get to watch how the party deals with it if you are invested. All right, so Mariah Carey is going to. Their party's first going to hear her. You know, it's going to be singing or humming or things like that, but they're not going to really be able to pick up what it is, because eventually she's going to shoot lights up into the air, and it's going to beam like a moonbeam or whatever is going to shine right on that hole, and then she's going to rise out of it on a platform, because her layer's down there. So I'm not going to have them fight her in her lair. They could, but then it's gonna be who knows, because she's not a slouch, and so she's gonna rise up like a diva would. That's the whole intent in my head, because she's a diva, and she's one of the main divas, and so we're gonna have to do her justice. And so she's gonna rise up on the platform, right? And the lights are going to fire off into the air, like fireworks or a light shining down. I'm not sure which one just yet, but as she's rising up from that platform, they're going to hear her, all I want for Christmas is. The platform is going to finish rising. That's when she's going to look around, and then be like, is you, and then blast them with a freaking ray. How about that? It might be sweeter in my head than it sounds, but it's pretty cool. Now, I'm not going to spoil everything for you, or even half of everything for you, because we're just making the character, so I'm not going to spoil much for you. But, this is the intention of the map, this right here. And really not so much this, but they could get to that portion. But this right here is what they're going to be going for. That's the goal. And you'll find out why. And that's all I can really say about that. I'm actually going to add some skeletons and some corpses leading up to here to give the party warning that something's going to happen. And it only makes sense that this ancient being who's been here for an unknown amount of time, as of right now, they might find out, a closer estimation. But it would seem to me that there would be a lot of corpses. And really, what I was planning on doing, kind of, is all these little cracks and things like that you see here. That was me trying to attempt to make it like it was bone fragments, essentially. Like little chips of bone here and there. Because this is like her stomping grounds, like her feeding grounds, and this isn't her house. You'll find out later. But so this area is going to have. I should have some corpses and some skeletons, and let's go ahead and add those, and then get back to the character building. All right, so we added four fresh corpses, and this is going to represent her most recent kills, and I'm gonna, according to their checks that they get, their medical checks and things like that, and all those things, they could, their investigation, they could probably determine how each one of those folks died if they wish to. That isn't an issue. They might be able to find out some stuff about those people. It's not going to be an issue. But what we're going to do here is put some of the more decayed, instead of corpses, we're going to put actually skeletons. And I mean, I guess you can't really see them too well, unfortunately. That's just the nature of the game. If you want to have realistic type of, instead of making the backgrounds all bright no matter what terrain they're in, then everything dark would show up much better. But then you would basically, everything would look like grass fields. But when in actuality they're going through a rocky underground area that's more rock than soil really at this point for how far under they are. And so we are going to, and then we're going to throw random bones, of course, around the platform because that's always going to be cool. And probably some blood spatter. All right, well, there you go. That's the finished map right there. I might add just a few touches more, but it's pretty much done. You see the blood splatter around the bones. There's a Christmas tree here that isn't there now, but it's going to be there once the encounter starts because that's where Mariah Carey is going to have to get the presents from to distribute them out to the party members. Added a few rats, some pigs, their troughs. I added some grave plots for the folks that are coming up. The person who lives there is the one responsible for burying them. Why they would bury them, you'll probably find that out maybe if you watch the session. There's some rabbits I put around here, and then there's a placard right here that says something. I added the summoning circle because that's why that area is important, but how they activate it, why they activate it, and what comes through it, and all those types of possibilities, those are in the future. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this map. All right, so let's go back to the character sheet here for Mariah. We went ahead and we added some of our presents, and it's a DC 20 to resist opening the present, or though you can forego that and choose to fail in order to open a present. But you see what they are. Potion of greater healing. Then number 2 is fresh hot ham and mashed potatoes. It meets the ration requirement for the day, but if the player eats it 3 times, if they happen to get that 3 times, then they're going to puke and lose their next turn as they're puking. Nothing major, and it's going to take 3 times, so they're going to have to hit 3 times out of this fight, which I don't think it should last more than. I really can't see it lasting more than 15 rounds, but I mean, we'll see how they do. I mean, I'd like them to be able to get it out of the way quick, but we'll see. Then number 3 is Vile Wyvern Poison. DC 18 con for half, and 7d6 poison. 7d6 poison is actually how much Wyvern Poison does, but the DC for it is actually 15 in the books, and I don't feel like that's terribly that impressive. Especially if you're a player that has a decent con and you're proficient in it, you really only have to roll like a 4 or 5 maybe, and you're passing it. So we went ahead and buffed that just a touch, but there's so many presents that the chances of them hitting that a few times in a row are pretty small. That's why I made the hot ham and mashed potatoes thing I did, because it's just kind of a cute, fun thing. It's not really taking this terribly serious. I mean, I am, because I'm creating this stuff, and I'm showing you, and I'm taking it serious to show you. But the encounter itself, it's just a little bit of lighthearted fun, really. And then number 4 is Potion of Supreme Healing. That's 10d4 plus 20. So they could potentially be healing themselves more than the damage they're taking, possibly. Because they can hit on that again multiple times. There's only one present in here that they can't hit on multiple times. Number 6 is 1d6 quicklings. Quicklings are tiny creatures from the Fae. They're really small. They're really fast, which I'm trying to make this encounter seem. She's fast. She's not exceptionally fast, but she's fast. Like a dragon would beat her in a race, but not by much. So she's fast, and so we got 1d6 quicklings. Hopefully they get to roll the 1d6. I'll let them roll it, whatever. And the quicklings are just kind of a distraction, really, to give them additional targets, so there isn't 4 party members circling around this demon who only through action economy gets 2 attacks, and then occasionally these presents and things like that. But it's a pretty decent fight for sure. This was all off the top of my head. I had none of this prepared beforehand. I have no notes and things like that in most of my YouTube videos. I don't even make any notes. I just talk as I'm talking to you, like you're my friend and you're in my room asking me questions about D&D or things, and I just go off and that's what I do. So number 7 is a potion of heroism, which I know Foxodon Haval actually really loves those, and I kind of threw that in there just for him. And then we have number 8, the deck of many things. That's the only one they can hit on one time. It's because whenever you throw a deck of many things out there, you don't know what the heck's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen. It's pure chaos. But I thrive. I thrive in and around chaos, I suppose. So, I kind of like making things happen, whether they're good or bad, and then seeing if I could get out of them or fix it or whatever. So yeah. And then, I think I might have forgot one. Oh yeah, the number 5, I forgot that. I think I skipped it. Sorry. It's a high note explosive. So the present throws out 1d4 explosives. The perpendicular circular metal discs that when she hits the high note, when there's enough of them out there, or whenever she decides that she would like to hit the high note, usually at the top of the round, right, for the villainous action or whatever. It's not. That's why I'm saying she doesn't need legendary actions. It's because I'm not trying to make her. I'm not trying to end the campaign here today. And as a DM, if you enjoy your players and you enjoy your campaign and you enjoy the story you're telling and you have more story to tell, why would you want to intentionally try to kill your players? Because that's not really the goal. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you've seen there, you got a little glimpse of what's next, but it's okay. But yeah, so we're done pretty much. As far as the video is concerned, I still have 2.5 hours before the session, so I'm gonna edit this, upload it, and you'll have it. Like I said, as they're playing, you're going to be watching this. You might get it a little bit before they play. You might have a little bit of leeway to watch the video, and then you can tune in live on dlive.tv/SaulSunforge, and you can see us here at 2 p.m. Eastern Time if you wish to watch it live. If you don't mind waiting, no problem. It'll be uploaded very shortly. So I'm going to go add some more flavor text, fix up the map a bit more, upload it to Roll20. If you're a DM on Roll20 and online or whatever, you know the drill. You know how it goes. And that's what I got to do. So I thank you for your time. Hopefully this was very comprehensive. It's probably more comprehensive than my other creature creation videos. And that's intentional. So thank you so much for your patronage. If you aren't a subscriber yet, please consider doing so. it makes me very happy when I see my subscriber count grow, even though it's a small channel and it doesn't happen that often. And that's also intentional for right now, until I can handle a bigger channel with more resources put into it and all that stuff. So thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great weekend, and I will see you soon.